You can develop very high functioning relative pitch using many methods. This is one of many. Um, and it helps to have the conversation with other musicians who maybe do have perfect pitch. When I studied with Dr. Zlotnik, and I'll tell you just a little bit about him, because he's the guy that kind of helped me tremendously. I mean, basically, I can very honestly say he completely changed my career course, which changed my life. His system of learning to hear, which is in a sense what you're going to be learning. I just took it and applied it to the guitar out of necessity more so than anything else. His whole thing was there are plenty of great musicians who are blind, and you can still play very well. But it's hard to play if you're deaf. I mean, granted, there are some exceptions like Beethoven, who went deaf, and then there's the percussionist. She learned to hear the feeling of the pitches. His whole thing is you want to make sure you want to kind of clear out the cobwebs from your ears in order to actually be able to hear, because anybody can kind of play by finger. If you have some kind of coordination and you practice enough, you can find your way around. You can learn 1,000 licks and you can just kind of string them together. I don't think that really allows you to compose on the spot. So Zlotnik's thing was to learn to sing as much as possible and to use singing as a methodology for kind of connecting what you're hearing, like what your brain is hearing. We talk about the ears, but it's really, like the part of your brain that processes sound. Anybody in here a good mimic, by the way? May seem like an off-the-wall question, but, mimicking a sound, basically, when you're hearing music and you're trying to figure out what it is, if you can mimic the sound, then it's the same thing as mimicking like a cartoon voice or something like that. It's basically the same process, I think. So Zlotnik, my first lesson with him, he said, okay, he said, I don't have perfect pitch, which is the other thing to kind of keep in mind with this is, you can develop very high functioning relative pitch using many methods. This is one of many. And it helps to have the conversation with other musicians who maybe do have perfect pitch. In other words, they can hear well in advance everything that is being played, that they're thinking about playing, and they can remember and retain things very, very clearly. This kind of puts you in the same ballpark with them to some extent. At least it gives you a fighting chance to be able to be in that kind of world, which that moves fast because it's like a conversation, as I said before. Okay, so Zlotnik, he said, okay, he said he didn't have perfect pitch. He said, so I'm gonna see where's an A. Okay, so I was singing a G. I need to work on that. This is one thing as we go along that I would like for you all to try to do, is to start by matching an A. First thing, before you touch your instrument, just see if you can sing it. And it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong at this stage of the game. It just matters that you try, and that when you actually hear the correct pitch, that you're able to match that pitch. That's really important. Like I have this little keyboard on my phone, free keyboard. There's tons of them. And so, I'll use that. Sometimes I have a tuning fork that I'll use, like depending on my car, I have a tuning fork. And I like the idea of doing, okay, not bad, A, F, C. So I kind of get, like a framework. It's basically an F triad, and I check the pitches. And, you'll hear my singing voice is terrible. Try not to laugh, And you don't have to have a great singing voice for this. The main thing is to be able to kind of get as close to the pitches and use it as a way of, kind of training your brain to hear these things. So one of the reasons why it's easy to get mixed up, for example, if I have a B minor 7 chord, and I play like this, I say a B minor 9. Now if I take the B out, I've got a D major 7 chord. And if I play voicing for the D major, which, if you're hearing this is the bottom, it's easy to get it mixed up with B minor 9. You know, even if I play a voicing that doesn't have a B in it, because your ear might hear this. That's a great voicing, by the way. That's one of those Peter Mazza voicings. So, root, 7th, 9th, 3rd, right? The lower you go, the harder it is to get there. The other thing is half diminished is really easy to get mixed up with dominant 9th. In fact, I kind of tried to trick you all because I played an F7. There was kind of this voicing, like a really basic F7 with I think I had the 3rd in the bass. And then I took the root and I moved it up a whole step and played this. Now, most of us, if we hear this and you hear F in the bass, and then you hear this following it, you hear it as F9. So this is one of those things that it's very easy to get mixed up on, between half diminished, major 7 and minor 7, in terms of just which one is which. So what I want to encourage you to do throughout this whole thing here is to try to really listen carefully to what the exact notes are that are being played. In other words, you get the general quality. And to be honest, if you're listening to a recording and you hear the piano player or whatever play what sounds like a D major 7, but the bass is playing a B, you're going to hear it as B minor 9th. I mean, that's just the way that is going to function, I think. But just being aware of this as you work through this process that we're starting to do here will help you a lot. It'll help avoid those types of mistakes where you're like, God, I did it again.